If you're planning on taking any time off from throwing this year, watch this whole video before you do that. When you are a youth athlete, you should be taking way more time off from throwing than when you are an older athlete who is actually well developed. And the reason for that is because when you're younger, you haven't developed the capacity to be able to handle the demands of the throw. Your tissues, your joints, your bones even, they haven't developed enough to be able to handle all of that stress that happens from the throw. This is one of the reasons why it's so important that parents actually get their athletes involved in some type of strength training exercises or activities around 8 years old. So that way the athlete can develop a very, very wide base. How tall the pyramid actually is only dependent upon how wide its base is. So if you develop an athlete's base extremely wide, I mean, I'm talking like gymnastics, soccer, basketball, baseball, you're doing all these different things, plus push-ups, sit-ups, squats, things like that, and you're starting to develop the athlete's base excessively wide, all of a sudden their athletic potential at the top of the pyramid starts to climb. By the time they're 13, 14, 15 years old and they start actually doing real training, they're not going to be behind. They'll actually be right on time or a little ahead, which is the whole point of starting development early. It's not so much that you're starting development to specialize in baseball and at 8 years old you're trying to chase velocity gains. That's not the point. The point is that at 8 years old, you're trying to build the capacity for that athlete to be able to handle the stresses and demands of the throw by the time they're 14, 15, 16, and they're starting to put on the workload from the high school season. And also in high school, most of these athletes now, they want to play year round. So they want to do spring, they want to do fall, they also want to do summer ball, they want to do clubs, they want to do all these things so that way they can get seen, scouted, and then go play in college. But how are they going to do that when they're 50 pounds underweight, they're 4 years behind in development, and the 13-year-old kids that have been developing are 10 times past them? That's going to be hard for them to keep up with. So let's say your arm's bugging you a little bit and you decide to take 2 weeks off of throwing. That means it's going to take you 4 weeks just to get back into throwing moderately high intensity again. But usually what happens is high school guys, they'll take 2, 3, even a month off, and they'll decide to just start throwing hard right when they get back, and then they wonder why their arm hurts. It just doesn't make sense. Don't do that. Okay, if you're going to take 2 weeks off, take 4 weeks of moderately low intensity throwing to build back up so that way you can then handle higher intensity throws once you actually start throwing hard again. And here's a free 4-week long toss template that you can use to do just that. In my opinion, this is where people will make the biggest mistake. They're going to go into week 5 and think that they're ready for an all-out velo day, and they're going to start throwing hard whenever they want. I want to be clear, that is not what I'm saying to do. What I am saying to do now is to focus on tissue tolerance, which means week 5 through 8, you're actually going to be focusing on progressively increasing your intensity, so on week 8, you'll be able to throw as hard as you want again and have that velo day that you've been seeking. Notice, that went from 4 weeks to 8 weeks, and all you wanted to do was take 2 weeks off. Now here's the unfortunate part. You can do all of what I just said and manage your volume, frequency, and intensity very well and still have arm pain. If that's you, you probably have either a mechanical issue or a strength issue, and either one of those needs a professional to help guide you so that way you can get the most out of your training in the shortest amount of time.